Picture this.
You're standing in the grand halls of the Roman palace in 23 AD, watching a tender moment between family. A loving grandmother deals before her 8-year-old grandson, pressing a warm honey cake into his tiny hands. Her kiss on his forehead feels gentle, her whisper soft as silk. From your loving grandmother. The boy's eyes light up with pure joy as he bites into the sweet treat, sticky fingers clutching his gift. But something feels wrong in this perfect scene. The grandmother's smile lingers too long, her eyes watching every bite with strange intensity. The servants have quietly stepped away, leaving them completely alone, because the honey cake in that innocent child's hands is laced with deadly poison. This is one of the most twisted acts of family betrayal in Roman history. This is the dark story of a woman who killed for power, sacrificing blood for a throne. This is the heartbreaking tale of a trusting boy who never saw death coming from the hands that should have protected him. This story will haunt your thoughts like a curse once you hear it. The image of that poisoned cake will never leave your mind. To understand this dark tale, we must travel back to 58 BCE, when a baby girl named Livia was born into one of Rome's oldest families. The Claudians were proud people. They traced their bloodline back 500 years. They owned massive farms. They commanded armies. Young Livia grew up watching her father host secret meetings in their villa. Rome was tearing itself apart. Julius Caesar was rising to power. Civil wars were coming. Blood would flow in the streets. At 15, Livia married her cousin, Tiberius Claudius Nero. Not for love. Roman nobles never married for love. They married for power, for alliances, for survival. She gave him 2 sons, young Tiberius and Drusus. But Rome kept burning. Caesar was murdered. More civil wars erupted. Livia's husband picked the wrong side in these wars. They had to run, carrying their baby sons through dark forests, hiding in caves, eating roots and berries to survive. Then in 39 BCE, everything changed. At a dinner party in Rome, Livia met a young man named Octavian. History would later call him Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. But that night, he was just a 23-year-old general who couldn't take his eyes off the beautiful Livia. She was pregnant with her second child. She was married. None of that mattered. Octavian wanted her, and what Octavian wanted, Octavian got. Octavian ordered Livia's husband to divorce her. The man had no choice. Refusing meant death. 3 days after giving birth to her second son, Livia married Octavian in a wedding that shocked all of Rome. People whispered in the markets. They gossiped in the baths. A pregnant woman marrying another man? It was scandalous. It was shameful. It was also brilliant, because Livia saw what others couldn't see yet. This young Octavian would become the most powerful man in the world, and she would stand beside him. But there was one massive problem. Livia's sons, Tiberius and Drusus, were not Octavian's blood. In Rome, blood was everything. Only blood could inherit. Only blood could rule. Octavian needed an heir of his own blood, and Livia knew her sons would always be outsiders, always be second best, unless something changed. For years, Livia played the perfect wife. She managed Octavian's household. She advised him on politics. She never complained when he brought other women to their bed. Roman men did what they wanted. But she was planning. Always planning. Octavian, now called Augustus, had no sons of his own. His only child was a daughter, Julia. So Augustus looked to his sister's son, Marcellus. This handsome young man became Augustus's favorite. He married Julia. Everyone knew Marcellus would be the next emperor. Livia watched from the shadows as her own son Tiberius was pushed aside. Tiberius was smarter than Marcellus, stronger, better trained in war, but he wasn't blood. He would never be chosen. Then, in 23 BCE, something strange happened. Marcellus got sick during the summer heat. It started with a fever. Then came the shaking, the vomiting, the horrible pain in his stomach. The best doctors in Rome couldn't save him. Within weeks, Marcellus was dead at age 19. With Marcellus dead, Augustus needed new heirs. He turned to his friend Agrippa's sons, Gaius and Lucius Caesar. Augustus adopted them as his own. These boys would be emperors. But Livia had learned something important from Marcellus's death. People died all the time in Rome. Fevers came from nowhere, food went bad, wine could be poisoned, and no one would ever know. She had also learned about herbs and potions. Roman women often knew these things. Which plants healed, which plants killed. A few drops of poisoned hemlock in wine caused paralysis. Wolfsbane in honey cake stopped the heart. Mushroom powder could destroy a liver slowly, making it look like natural illness. Livia began collecting these plants in her private garden. She tested them on slaves first, watching how they died, learning the perfect doses. Her son Tiberius was now a grown man, a brilliant general winning wars for Rome. But those two boys, Gaius and Lucius, stood in his way. While Livia plotted in Rome, Tiberius was becoming the empire's greatest general. He conquered Germania, he crushed rebellions, his soldiers loved him, the Senate respected him, but Augustus barely noticed. All his love went to Gaius and Lucius, his adopted grandsons. He called them his light and eyes. He brought them everywhere. He was training them to rule. Tiberius grew bitter. He had given his whole life to Rome, and for what? To watch two young boys take what should be his? His mother Livia would visit him in his military camps. "Be patient," she would whisper. "Your time will come." "When?" Tiberius would ask. "Sooner than you think," she would answer with that strange smile of hers. Then the deaths began in earnest. First was Gaius Caesar in 4 AD. The young heir was returning from a military campaign in Armenia when he fell mysteriously ill. It started as a small wound that wouldn't heal, then infection set in. The wound turned black, the smell was horrible. Gaius died slowly, painfully, calling for his grandfather Augustus. He was only 23 years old. Just 18 months earlier, his brother Lucius had died too. Lucius was traveling to Spain when sudden illness struck. Stomach cramps, bloody vomit. Dead within 3 days at age 18, 2 heirs gone. Augustus was devastated. He locked himself in his room for days, weeping for his lost boys. But who was left to inherit the empire? Only Tiberius. Loyal, patient Tiberius, Livia's son. Augustus had no choice. In 4 AD, he officially adopted Tiberius as his son and heir. Livia had won, or so it seemed, because Augustus had one more card to play. He also adopted his last surviving grandson, Agrippa Posthumus. This wild young man was Julius' son, Augustus's blood. If anything happened to Tiberius, Posthumus would rule. Livia's work wasn't done. In 7 AD, Agrippa Posthumus was suddenly accused of terrible crimes. Violence, madness, threatening the emperor. No one saw these crimes except a few witnesses who appeared from nowhere. Augustus banished his own grandson to a tiny island prison. Posthumus screamed that he was innocent, that someone had framed him, but Augustus wouldn't listen. Now truly only Tiberius remained. But Livia had a new problem. Augustus was getting old. He was starting to regret banishing Posthumus. Rumors spread that Augustus secretly visited the boy on his island prison, that he was thinking of bringing him back, of making him heir instead of Tiberius. Livia couldn't let that happen, not after everything she'd done, not when they were so close. In 14 AD, Augustus took a trip to his family's old villa. Livia went with him. She personally prepared his meals. She brought him his favorite figs from their garden. Augustus ate the figs happily. Within hours, he was sick. Stomach pains, fever. He couldn't keep food down. "It's just bad fruit," Livia told everyone. "He'll be fine." But Augustus knew. On his deathbed, he looked at his wife of 52 years. "You did this," he whispered. "I did what was necessary," she replied. "For Rome?" Augustus died on August 19, 14 AD. His last words to Livia were, "Live, remembering our marriage." Was it a blessing or a curse? The moment Augustus died, Livia sent secret orders. Before anyone even knew the emperor was dead, soldiers landed on Posthumus's island prison. They killed him immediately, no trial, no questions. When the Senate met the next day, there was only one possible emperor, Tiberius. Livia's son finally sat on the throne of Rome, but power corrupts everyone it touches. Tiberius became paranoid, cruel, suspicious of everyone, including his own mother. He pushed Livia away from power. He ignored her advice. He banned her from political meetings. The son she had killed for now treated her like an annoying old woman. "Everything I did was for you," she reportedly screamed at him. "I never asked you to," he replied coldly. Their relationship turned to poison. Tiberius moved away from Rome entirely, ruling from a distant island. He left orders that Livia should have no real power. The woman who had controlled Rome from the shadows was now trapped in golden chains, honored but ignored, respected but powerless. In her final years, Livia sat alone in her palace, surrounded by statues and memories. Everyone she had known was dead. Her husband, her victims, even her younger son Drusus had died years ago. Did she regret it? Did she see the faces of dead children in her dreams? We'll never know. Livia never confessed to anything. She took her secrets to the grave when she died in 29 AD at age 86. But the killings didn't stop with her death. Tiberius, the son she had made emperor, became one of Rome's cruelest rulers. He executed hundreds. He trusted no one. He died alone and hated. After Livia died, people began to talk. Slaves whispered about the strange plants in her garden. Doctors remembered the suspicious symptoms of all those deaths. Historians started connecting dots. The Roman historian Tacitus wrote that Livia was a curse to the nation. Another historian, Cassius Dio, called her a serial murderer. They painted a picture of a woman who killed at least 6 people, maybe more. But here's the thing about history. It's written by men who feared powerful women. Livia was smart. She was ambitious. She survived in a world where women had no rights, no power, no voice unless they took it. Maybe she was a killer. Maybe she was just convenient to blame when powerful men died. The truth is, we'll never really know if Livia killed all those people. No one was ever caught poisoning the honey cakes. No one saw her dropping hemlock in the wine. The deaths could have been natural. Disease killed young people all the time in ancient Rome. But the timing was perfect. Too perfect. Every single person who stood between Tiberius and power died at exactly the right moment. If Livia was innocent, she was the unluckiest woman in history. If she was guilty, she was the most successful serial killer ever, murdering her way to making her son emperor of the known world. What we do know is this. Livia Drusilla showed the world what happens when you deny women legitimate power. What we do know is this. Livia Drusilla showed the world what happens when you deny women legitimate power. They take it anyway, through whatever means necessary. She couldn't be emperor, so she made one. She couldn't rule openly, so she ruled from shadows. Today, if you visit Rome, you can still see Livia's house on Palatine Hill. The painted walls show gardens full of flowers and fruit trees. Beautiful, peaceful. But if you know where to look, you can spot something else in those painted gardens. Hidden among the roses and violets are other plants. Hemlock, wolfsbane, deadly nightshade. The painter knew, everyone knew, they just couldn't prove it. In the end, that little boy eating the honey cake, young Drusus, he wasn't even Livia's real grandson. He was the son of another rival, another obstacle. The grandmother's kiss on his forehead was the kiss of death. The sweet cake in his small hands was a death sentence. And somewhere in the shadows of history, Livia Drusilla smiles, taking her dark secrets to eternity, leaving us to wonder, how many people did Rome's most evil grandmother really kill?